What's up? My name's Ryan, founder of TRMNL. Every month we take a percentage of our revenue and we pay it out directly to the community. We do this because if it weren't for the community, TRMNL would not be what it is today. The community has built over 90% of our plugins and helps manage or maintain at least 60% of our open source work. And if it weren't for them, I don't know, our dozen engineers, dozen plus, would still not be able to keep up with what customers are looking for and what we're looking to achieve, what the vision is of TRMNL. And so every month we pay this out. We call it the Creator Fund, and I'll link it below so you can learn more about the details. But today I want to showcase the source code, the algorithm, if you will, how the Creator Fund is calculated. And this is just an effort to be more transparent, because anytime we all hear the word algorithm these days, it just sounds nefarious in its default state. So we're eventually hoping to open source this algorithm, but for now, I'll show you on live screen share. So let's get started. In order to not expose anyone's personal monthly payout, we're going to just look at one of our own plugins that is excluded from payouts, here called DogFacts. And I'm going to run this through our Creator Fund algorithm so you can see how it would work if this plugin was something that you built. And so let's jump into our source code. In here we have a Rails 8 app, and one of our services is called Creators. The base just accepts a plugin, and then it has some attributes that we care about. The snapshot service is just going to instantiate every plugin that qualifies, and it's going to spit out a CSV of results. That CSV is going to be fed into a spreadsheet because this is not yet totally automated, but the math is automated, just the logistics are not automated. So let's take a look at that math, and that all happens right here. Less than 50 lines of code. We look at three main attributes of a given published plugin to determine how much value it adds to the community, and therefore what percentage of the Creator Fund it should occupy. We also have a minimum 50 installs required to be eligible for the Creator Fund, which A, makes it a little bit easier to pay 100 or 200 people per month versus 800 people, but B, it makes those payments a little bit bigger. And C, it encourages the creators to do a little bit of their own marketing. So you can see that here. We have a minimum usage of 50 installs per plugin. Once you hit that threshold, we then look at these other three attributes: age, presence, and impressions. And if you pause the video, you can kind of see why we chose those attributes. But essentially, if you build a plugin that is only seen on someone's device Friday for an hour, that's not as valuable as building a weather plugin that's seen on someone's device every 20 minutes, right? So let's go back to this DogFacts plugin that we've created. It's ID 2554. And here I'm just going to go into our production console and grab this plugin. All right, we've got the plugin. Now I want to instantiate this Creator Fund service, which again, very simple. I'm going to just instantiate the analytics subclass because that's where all of the magic happens. Let's call that Creator Fund is creatorsanalytics.new, passing in that plugin. And then let's just invoke call, which is going to produce a hash in Ruby, or essentially a JSON object of the details that are needed to calculate this payout. And there we have it. So we know what the ID is of the user. This is just one of our users, so nothing personally identifying here. The plugin's ID, name, and then here we have those three values that help determine the overall value add of this plugin to the people who have installed it. And so let's go plug these in to our spreadsheet. So first of all, this spreadsheet, I copy paste it per payment period, which is currently once a month. And it has some notes for me, and it has a bunch of formulas. If I were to start scrolling over, you'll see nothing too crazy, just some SUMIFs, VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs, things like that. Let's hard code and suppose that we're going to be paying out $1,000 this month. that will populate 70% of that is dedicated to the plugin developers, which is right here. And then here you can see, I'll zoom in, that we give different weights to each of those three values. So essentially, the way to keep this simple is the more times your plugin is seen, the more valuable it is. So that gets 40% of the weight. Second most important is age. So if your plugin has stuck around on someone's device, we would consider that a high value plugin because they're not adding and removing it all the time. And then presence, this is essentially a way to determine how much value does your plugin add versus others. So if someone has your plugin on their device, let's say 10,000 people have your plugin on their device, but it's only one of 30 plugins, then yours arguably doesn't add a ton of value. But if your plugin is on a lot of devices that only have 3 plugins total, then clearly your plugin is doing something awesome. It's probably a little bit more sophisticated, for example, than dog facts. So that's how we do the weighting, and this is how we do the payout. So let's go ahead and fill in these fields. We've got 2554 is the plugin ID. We've got 364 is the user ID. This is a plugin setting. This is just backend for us. The name, of course, is dog facts. Now I'm gonna add these values: age, presence, and impressions, and I'll just put close enough to a few decimal points there because we're just demoing. And now when it adds those weights to it, you can see, of course, our payout is the full freight. But let's say we were to figure out some other plugins. I don't know, cat facts. And this was a little bit, didn't last as long, but had double the presence, but only half of the impressions, right? You can see how that impacts the score. So the dog facts one would still win, even though this has double the presence because it doesn't have as many impressions, right? So we're not pretending that this is a perfect way to do it, and we're always making tiny tweaks. But if we were to make a major tweak, for example, to this weighting, we would publish that so that people know what you might want to optimize for. Then finally over here, this is going to do a sum if because there's many creators who have a bunch of plugins. So each plugin is weighed individually, but over here, it lets us know that user 2, with all of their plugin payouts combined, they're owed this amount. And that's all there is to it. So we fill out this spreadsheet, and when I run it from the snapshot, it actually produces this in CSV format for me. So I only have to copy paste from A22 and everything gets calculated. Once I grab that, there's another template called Creator Fund Payouts where I copy and paste just these 2 columns, and that will do a lookup into our database, and it will say, okay, user 364, this is their PayPal address, or this user prefers store credit, here's a link to their store profile, and so on and so on. So each month we make tweaks to this spreadsheet, we make small tweaks to the algorithm, ultimately to save me a little bit of time, but also to make it more fair and more transparent. But underscoring all of it, it needs to be simple. This is something I hope to communicate, underlining all of these behind the screens videos. It should be simple so that it's easy to understand. And I'm excited about the Creator Fund too, because in an age like today where people are vibe coding essentially nuclear reactors alone in their bedroom, I think it's refreshing to have a way to make a little money online when we're just talking about the basics: HTML, CSS, HTTP. If you can make a couple bucks doing that with Terminal, we welcome you with open arms, and that will encourage you and empower you to go build apps and platforms and hardware yourself, which again is the reason why I'm putting together these episodes. So I hope this was helpful. I'll see you next week. Until then, stay focused.